And joining us now is San Diego State University professor and foreign policy expert Rick Epps. Good day to you, and thanks for joining us. Okay, so I'll take the first question here. First of all, what might be the next move for the United States? And I don't need to minimize this or oversimplify it, because we're talking about the fact that religion and rule are in effect here, right?
To some degree. I mean, there is a certain amount of secularism in Syria, unlike a lot of other countries in the Middle East. However, when you look at this ongoing 6-year tragedy, and since the Arab Spring, it's become very problematic, and even trying to depose Assad has been very problematic, which is why this has been ongoing even since Obama's time in office. Obama tried to use diplomacy with the Russians to get this done, and it's actually, unfortunately hasn't worked because of the fact the biggest question has been, if Assad goes, who's going to replace him, right? So where do you step next if you replace him, or does this leave us another political vacuum like we saw in Iraq, and then you've got a civil war, or you've got more radicalism and extremists coming to bear, and that becomes what the real issue is. But in the long run, in terms of the infrastructure of the system and how we got here, it's been ongoing, and it's certainly, now at this moment the question is, why now? Why now in this moment? And that's a complicated question, because is it really because of the gas attack, or was there another longer protracted plan as a change of foreign policy?
Let's talk about President Trump for a moment, because he campaigned saying he's not going to discuss any military action publicly. He didn't here. He stuck to what he said he was going to do. His ratings are not especially strong right now. What does this mean for him politically?
Well, this is, if you look historically, every time a president acts militarily, their ratings go up. And certainly he needs a boost. He's way down. So this would certainly be a boost for him, for a lot of Americans that like the sort of, I call it the John Wayne effect, right? And so for him, in terms of that, it certainly looks very good. On the other side of that, though, to take action without consulting Congress, which he can do by Article 2 of the Constitution, he has the right to do that. But when you look at this, not consulting any of our allies, not consulting with the UN Security Council, to be able to take this action is pretty unprecedented in this type of situation, particularly when, up until this time, his view of Assad and of the regime had been a little bit more proactive. He saw them as a future ally, as a matter of fact. He
even said this week he sort of changed his stance after that chemical attack, and him saying he changes his stance on anything is something we're not used to seeing so far.
Yes, and when you think about that, not that that's not a viable understanding based on what circumstances of the events that took place on Tuesday. The problem that comes in is, okay, so in the next step, what happens next, as you mentioned earlier? And then what happens next is, well, we have to wait and see. Russia, we know now, is sending at least one of its frigates into the region to, basically make it look like, or give the appearance that they're, going to say, hey, well, we'll make sure nothing else happens. But most people believe Russia's not going to do anything, that this is a one-time operation to basically give a shot across the bow to Assad and his regime. The problem is, once you start this process, can you de-escalate? And then there's also the issue of unintended consequences.
Right, and a lot of people's reputations and world leaders are at stake right now, too.
Absolutely.
Okay, Rick Epps, thanks very much from San Diego State University.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.